anymore.
No, they're everywhere. You hear them constantly when people debate politics, technology, surveillance.
It's pretty astonishing, actually. George Orwell's 1984 just soaked into our collective brain somehow. And our sources pointed out something interesting. Whenever people get anxious about, say, manipulation or government overreach, we grab for Orwell's language.
Yeah, like that surge in sales back in, what was it, 2016?
Exactly. 2016 anxieties about fake news were high, and suddenly everyone's talking about doublethink and newspeak again. It just keeps coming back.
Okay, and this is the part that really gets me. Orwell wrote this in 1949. 1949. Before the internet, before smartphones, before, well, almost everything we think of as modern surveillance. And yet, his blueprint for control, it feels incredibly relevant, maybe even more relevant now. So that's our mission for this deep dive. We're going to unpack the architecture of control in 1984.
We're looking at the core mechanics he laid out, how truth gets manipulated, how language itself is weaponized, how relationships are controlled, and of course, fear.
Yeah, fear.
Yeah.
We want to understand how this fictional world he built seems to have, well, predicted elements of our own reality, this hyper-surveilled world we're in now.
It's really about exploring totalitarianism's ultimate goal, as Orwell saw it, which isn't just controlling what people do, but controlling what they think, conquering the mind itself.
That deep level of power, seeking absolute internalized submission. That's what the book digs into, right?
Exactly. It's a terrifyingly profound look at how power works when it aims for total control.
Okay, let's start with the setting itself, Oceania. And our main guy, Winston Smith, it's just bleak, isn't it? The whole world feels defined by decay and this really dark irony.
Oh, absolutely. Winston, he's 39, and his name, Smith, it's deliberately common. He's the everyman sort of dropped into this nightmare.
And his physical state mirrors the world, right?
Yeah.
He's described as thin. He's got this varicose ulcer on his ankle that's always bothering him.
Constantly oozing. And he lives in this cold, dark, grimy place. Victory Mansions, it's called, which is the first big irony.
Victory Mansions.
Yeah.
Sounds grand.
Yeah, but there are these dilapidated apartment blocks falling apart. Everything's broken, and the whole place smells of boiled cabbage and this awful cheap gin.
That physical decay is so important, isn't it?
Yeah.
The party projects this image of immense power and, well, victory.
Right.
But for the average person like Winston, the reality is just scarcity and grime and things falling apart.
It's baked into everything. Even the consumer goods, Victory Gin, Victory Coffee, Victory Cigarettes.
Yeah, the names.
They all have Victory slapped on them, but they're famously terrible quality.
Yeah.
Nasty stuff. Barely drinkable, barely smokable.
So it's a kind of psychological assault too, right? You're constantly told you're victorious while you're consuming this rubbish.
Exactly. It forces this cognitive dissonance. You have to sort of celebrate abundance while experiencing constant deprivation. It wears you down.
And the biggest examples of that forced contradiction are those three-party slogans you see plastered everywhere. War is peace. Freedom is slavery. Ignorance is strength.
Foundational. You're literally required to believe things that are opposites. That's the mental gymnastics the party demands from the start.
And this irony, this naming things the opposite of what they are, it runs right through the government structure itself, the four ministries.
Oh, yeah. It's almost like they're mocking the very concepts they're named after.
Okay, so walk us through them. Ministry of Truth. Minute True.
Right. Minute True, which we'll definitely get into more, is all about news, entertainment, education, the arts, and its main job is rewriting history. Constantly. It produces lies.
Okay, then Ministry of Peace. Mini-PACs.
Mini-PACs. Its job is war. Perpetual war. Managing it, escalating it, making sure it never ends, because the state of war is necessary for control.
Ministry of Plenty.
Mini-Plenty. Mini-Plenty runs the economy. But its real function seems to be managing scarcity, ensuring there's never quite enough, keeping people focused on basic survival. Hence the Victory Gym.
Right. And the last one, maybe the most chilling, Ministry of Love.
Yeah.
Mini-Luv.
Mini-Luv oversees law and order, which in Oceania means the judicial system, interrogation, torture, and ultimately re-education, breaking people's minds.
So love becomes the agent of the ultimate psychological destruction. It's brutal.
It is. And this naming convention, it's not just dark humor. It's like an instruction manual for how to think in Oceania. It tells you words don't mean what they mean. They mean whatever the party says they mean. Reality is malleable.
So how do they keep everyone in line? Day to day, it seems to revolve around this constant feeling of being watched.
Perpetual surveillance, yeah. The main tool for that is the telescreen.
The telescreen. Explain that.
It's brilliant in a horrifying way. It's mandatory in every party member's home, every office. And it does two things. It blasts out party propaganda constantly, music, news, announcements.
Okay.
But crucially, it's also watching and listening. It's a two-way device. They can see you, they can hear you if you speak above a very low whisper.
Wow. But it's not just about recording what you do, is it? It goes deeper.
Much deeper. The real terror is the uncertainty. You never know when they're actually watching or listening, and they monitor your facial expressions.
Of face crime.
Exactly. Face crime, a flicker of anxiety, a doubtful look, anything that betrays the wrong kind of thought, that could be enough.
What does that do to a person, policing expression itself?
It forces the tyranny inward. You can't just obey outwardly, you have to think obediently or at least look like you do all the time. You can never relax your guard.
So you end up policing yourself.
Constantly. Far more effectively than any external force could. Because you assume you might be watched at any moment. It's this crushing weight of self-monitoring.
Okay, so the telescreen is this constant background hum of potential danger. What about the 2 minutes hate? That sounds intense.
It is. It's a scheduled ritual, a mandatory part of the day for party members. They gather in front of the telescreen, and it shows images of the supposed enemy of the people, Emmanuel Goldstein.
Who's basically a stand-in for Trotsky, right?
Yeah.
The ultimate traitor figure.
Right, the eternal scapegoat for everything wrong in Oceania. And the ritual is designed to whip everyone into a frenzy of hatred, fear, and rage directed at Goldstein.
Why? What's the purpose of that?
It's a release valve. All that pent-up frustration and misery from their deprived lives gets channeled outwards, away from the party, onto this fabricated enemy. And at the climax, it morphs into this ecstatic adoration of Big Brother.
So it takes their own suffering and turns it into fuel for loyalty to the regime.
Precisely. Weaponizes their misery against a phantom. It's psychological manipulation on a mass scale.
Okay, so that's controlling the environment, the emotions.
Yeah.
But then there's newspeak. This feels like maybe the most insidious tool of all.
It's arguably the most terrifying, because it's a direct attack on thought itself, on the human intellect, the soul. It's the systematic weaponization of language.
Let's break that down. We meet Winston's colleague, Syme, who's working on the new Newspeak dictionary, and he's weirdly enthusiastic about destroying words.
He is. He finds it beautiful. And he lays out the goal very clearly. It's political, it's philosophical, it's about narrowing the range of thought.
How? By cutting down the vocabulary.
Exactly. Drastically reducing it. The idea is that eventually, thought crime thinking anything against the party will become literally impossible.
Because there won't be any words left to express it.
Precisely. Syme actually boasts about this. He says by 2050, when Newspeak is perfected, all the old literature, Shakespeare, Chaucer, Milton, the Declaration of Independence won't just be banned, it will be unintelligible. No one will be able to understand the concepts.
So it's not just making things simpler, like saying ungood instead of bad, or double plus good instead of excellent.
That's part of it, eliminating synonyms and nuances. But the real target is abstract concepts. Words like honor, justice, morality, democracy, science, religion, they're being pruned out or reduced to such simple, narrow meanings that their original power is lost.
You can't say justice. Can you even think about justice?
That's the theory. The concept itself eventually withers away because the linguistic framework to hold it just isn't there anymore. And Syme, in his, creepy excitement, thinks this is wonderful.
But the irony is?
The irony is that Syme himself is too smart. He understands the process too well. He gets the political implications too clearly.
Which makes him dangerous.
Exactly. His intelligence, even though it's serving the party right now, marks him for eventual vaporization. He knows too much about how the control mechanism works.
Wow. It shows the party has to destroy even those who help build the cage if they understand the lock.
Absolutely. And this control over language goes hand in hand with the control over history and reality itself, which is Winston's job, right, at the Ministry of Truth.
Minitru. And that brings us to that chilling slogan. Who controls the past, controls the future. Who controls the present, controls the past.
That's the guiding principle. It dictates everything Minitru does.
So Winston's job, it's not just like shuffling papers. He's actively erasing the past. Describe what he actually does.
His function and the function of his whole department is to ensure the party is always right, always infallible. So if the party made a prediction that didn't come true, or issued an order that's now inconvenient.
Like, say, they promised a certain number of boots would be produced.
Right. The example given is the Ministry of Plenty promising 145 million pairs of boots for the quarter, but only delivering 62 million. Winston's job is to find the original news report making the promise, destroy it, and rewrite it to say the promise was only ever for 62 million.
So he's constantly replacing, as the source material put it, one piece of nonsense for another.
Yes, he alters records, forges documents, even invents people out of thin air, like Comrade Ogilvy, this heroic figure created purely to be a good example in the revised history books.
And what happens to the original documents? The evidence of the actual past?
Down the memory hole. Literally. There are these pneumatic tubes, chutes that lead to giant incinerators. Any piece of paper, any photograph, any record that contradicts the party's current version of reality gets dropped down the memory hole and utterly destroyed.
What does that do to someone like Winston psychologically, living in that constant fog?
It's devastating. He exists in this haze where objective truth is constantly shifting. He can't be sure what was true yesterday or even 5 minutes ago. The point of the lie isn't just to deceive. It's an exercise of power over the very fabric of reality.
And we see this play out on a massive scale during Hate Week, right? With a switch in enemies.
Oh, that's maybe the most dramatic example. Oceania is at war with Eurasia, has supposedly always been at war with Eurasia. They're allies with Eastasia. Hate Week is whipping up fury against Eurasia.
And then, suddenly,
Mid-speech, during a rally, the speaker is denouncing Eurasian atrocities, and then, without even pausing, he gets a note and announces that Oceania is not at war with Eurasia. Oceania is, and always has been, at war with Eastasia. Eurasia is the ally.
and the crowd just accepts it.
Instantly, seamlessly. They immediately start tearing down the anti-Eurasia posters they just put up, claiming Goldstein's agents must have sabotaged them. They adapt to the new reality on the spot. Oceania had always been at war with Eastasia.
This is where we have to talk about doublethink. It's such a core concept.
Absolutely essential. Orwell defines it as the power of holding two contradictory beliefs in one's mind simultaneously and accepting both of them.
So knowing the past was just changed.
Knowing it consciously, maybe even having changed it yourself, like Winston, but also genuinely believing the new fabricated past is the absolute truth.
How is that even possible?
It's the required mental discipline of a party member. It's an active, continuous effort. You have to consciously suppress your knowledge of the manipulation and embrace the party's reality. It's not just being lied to. It's participating in the lie against your own memory and reason, rejecting empirical evidence for political necessity.
That's deeply unsettling. It moves beyond simple censorship into rearranging someone's internal landscape.
Exactly. And that brings us to the party's methods for achieving that deeper internal control. It's not enough for people to obey outwardly.
Right. Our sources mention they don't want martyrs. They want conversion.
They need internalized obedience. To prevent people from dying with defiance in their hearts, they have to break the human spirit itself, force the individual to betray everything they hold dear, to willingly surrender their own free will.
And this is where O'Brien and the Ministry of Love come in. The torture process he describes: learning, understanding, acceptance.
It's presented almost like an educational program, which makes it even more grotesque. But it's about using pain, both physical and psychological, to dismantle Winston's sense of self and his connection to reality.
The most famous example probably is the 2 + 2 = 5 thing.
Right. O'Brien holds up 4 fingers and insists Winston see 5. He uses torture to force Winston not just to say it's 5, but to believe it's 5.
Why is that specific point so important? It seems almost absurd.
Because it's the ultimate assault on objective empirical truth. If the party can dictate that 2 + 2 = 5, then they control reality itself. O'Brien explicitly tells Winston that reality exists only in the mind of the party. Whatever the party holds to be truth is truth.
So it's not about the maths, it's about demonstrating absolute power over perception.
Exactly. O'Brien says they don't care about the stupid act of rebellion, they care about the thought. When Winston is finally broken enough to genuinely, willingly believe that 2 + 2 = 5, or could equal 5 if the party wished it, then he's achieved the state of mind they demand. Total surrender to their arbitrary reality.
And the final stage of that breaking process is Room 101.
Ah, Room 101. O'Brien calls it the place containing the worst thing in the world.
And he explains that the worst thing is different for everyone, right?
Yes. That's the terrifying genius of it. It's personalized torture. It finds your deepest, most primal, irrational fear, the thing you dread above all else, and confronts you with it. For Winston, it's rats.
What's the goal there? Beyond just terror.
It's designed to push the victim to the absolute brink, the lowest possible state without being dead, as the book puts it. To use that unique, private horror to shatter the last vestiges of their identity and loyalty, to make them betray everything.
But even before someone gets to Minilove, The party works really hard to undermine the things that might give people strength, like personal relationships.
Oh, definitely. Love, intimacy, even strong friendships. These are seen as inherently dangerous to the party.
Why? Because they create loyalty outside the party.
Exactly. Any deep emotional bond between two individuals creates a private world, a loyalty that rivals the absolute loyalty demanded by Big Brother. So relationships are treated as potential political acts, acts of rebellion,
So they control marriage.
rigorously. Marriages need committee approval, are only really sanctioned for procreation, and any sign of genuine sexual attraction between the couple is grounds for refusal. They want joyless duty, not passion.
And Julia, Winston's lover, she has this insight about sexual frustration, doesn't she?
Yeah, she's quite politically savvy in her own way. She figures out that the party deliberately induces sexual privation. All that pent-up energy, frustration, and hysteria has nowhere to go.
Except where the party directs it.
Right, into the frenzy of the 2 minutes hate, into war fever, into leader worship. It's channeled emotional energy, harvested for the party's purposes.
And O'Brien later confirms this is a deliberate strategy.
He does. He chillingly reveals the party's ultimate goal regarding sex. Their neurologists are actively working to abolish the orgasm. They want to eliminate pleasure, intimacy, and that drive entirely, leaving only loyalty to the party, pure and unadulterated by human feeling.
That is profoundly bleak. And this control starts incredibly young with the children.
The family unit is systematically destroyed. Children are indoctrinated from birth by organizations like the Spies. They wear uniforms, they're encouraged to watch their parents, listen at keyholes.
And report them for any sign of deviation.
Yes, like the Parsons kids, they're portrayed as these terrifyingly zealous little fanatics.
And poor Tom Parsons, their father, he actually gets turned in by his own 7-year-old daughter for saying, "down with Big Brother" in his sleep. Thought crime.
And the horrifying part is, Parsons isn't angry. He tells Winston he's almost proud of his daughter for doing her duty. He accepts his guilt completely.
It shows how effectively the party has destroyed trust at the most fundamental level, parent and child. There can be no private loyalties, only loyalty to the state.
It ensures everyone is isolated, dependent only on the party.
Okay, this feels like a good point to bring in the comparison that always comes up with 1984. Aldous Huxley's Brave New World.
You really can't talk about one without the other, can you? Our sources rightly stress reading them together gives you a much fuller picture of the warnings about where society could go.
And Huxley was actually Orwell's French tutor for a time, wasn't he? So 1984 is sometimes seen as Orwell's direct response to Huxley's vision.
It is. They paint pictures of two very different kinds of dystopia, two opposite ways of achieving total control.
So 1984 is...
1984 is tyranny through pain. Fear, punishment, constant surveillance, scarcity, the deliberate manipulation of truth. Life is grim, hard, and full of suffering. Control through infliction.
Whereas Brave New World is...
Tyranny through pleasure, state-sponsored hedonism, genetic engineering, conditioning from birth, endless entertainment, casual sex, and the mood-altering drug soma to smooth over any discontent. Control through distraction and pacification.
So one controls by taking things away, the other by giving too much of the wrong things.
Essentially, yes, as someone famously put it. In 1984, they control you by inflicting pain. In Brave New World, they control you by inflicting pleasure. Or, another way. 1984 fears those who would ban books. Brave New World fears that there would be no reason to ban a book because no one would want to read one anyway.
That's a powerful contrast. And our source material mentioned that sometimes these books get separated in schools, maybe because they get labeled politically.
Yeah.
One seen as like far right, the other far left.
Yeah, that sometimes happens, unfortunately. People try to map them onto current political divides. But the real lesson, reading them together, is about the mechanisms of control itself. Tyranny can wear different masks. It can come through overt oppression or through seductive distraction. Both lead to the loss of freedom, individuality, and critical thought.
So the ideology isn't the point as much as the methods used to enforce conformity.
Exactly. And if 1984 shows us the fully established totalitarian state, Orwell's earlier book, Animal Farm, gives us a sense of how things can get to that point.
Right, the gradual slide. Totalitarianism by degrees.
In Animal Farm, the pigs don't just seize absolute power overnight. It happens slowly, step by step. Squealer, the propagandist pig, keeps changing the rules, justifying why the pigs need more apples, more milk.
Rationalizing the lies and the growing inequality.
Yes. And Napoleon, the leader pig, builds his cult of personality, trains his dog security force, eliminates his rivals. It's a creeping authoritarianism. It shows how those seemingly small compromises, those subtle shifts in language and truth, can pave the way for the kind of absolute absurd control we see fully formed in Oceania.
So Animal Farm is the how it starts, and 1984 is the where it ends up.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Together, they offer a chillingly complete picture.
Okay, let's go back to Winston. Despite this overwhelming system, he does try to rebel, doesn't he? He clings to things from the past.
He does. He desperately searches for artifacts, for memories, anything that provides an anchor to a reality before the party, something objective to push back against their control.
And the first big act is buying that diary. Why is that object so significant?
It's beautiful, for one thing. It's described as having this smooth, creamy paper, the kind that hasn't been made in decades. It's a tangible piece of the past, a forbidden luxury.
And the act of writing in it.
Is hugely rebellious. Just the physical act of putting his own thoughts down, creating a private record, and when he writes, "Down with Big Brother," over and over again, well, he knows in that moment he sealed his fate. He's committed thought crime definitively.
He also puts a lot of hope, maybe misplaced hope, in the proles, the 85% of the population who aren't party members.
Yeah, he has this recurring thought. If there is hope, it lies in the proles. He sees their sheer numbers, their relative freedom from the intense scrutiny the party directs at its own members.
Why are they less scrutinized?
Because the party considers them fundamentally unintelligent, almost subhuman. The official line is proles and animals are free. They're seen as incapable of abstract thought or organized rebellion, so they're mostly left alone.
As long as they work and breed.
Right. They're controlled not through terror, but through ignorance and distraction. What Orwell calls pro-feed.
Which isn't just propaganda. It's described as deliberately mindless rubbish.
Yeah, cheap entertainment, sentimental songs written by machines, pornography, football, beer, and crucially, the lottery.
The law.
It's a huge focus for them, gives them this constant false hope of sudden wealth, even though, as Winston realizes, the big prizes are probably never even paid out or paid out to non-existent people. It keeps them docile, dreaming of luck instead of change. They're anesthetized, not oppressed in the same way party members are.
Okay, and then there's that other key symbol of Winston's rebellion, his private world with Julia, the glass paperweight.
The coral paperweight, yes.
Yeah.
It's beautiful and fragile. This little piece of pink coral suspended in heavy glass, he buys it in the same junk shop as the diary.
What does he represent for him?
It represents a connection to the past, something solid and beautiful and useless in the party's terms. But more than that, it becomes a symbol of his relationship with Julia, their secret room above the shop, their private life. He imagines the glass contains their world, holding it safe, in infinity in the center of the crystal.
Their relationship itself is a rebellion, isn't it? A blow struck against the party.
Absolutely. Because it's based on genuine desire and affection, a loyalty purely between them, completely outside Big Brother's control. That's the ultimate crime.
But of course, that private world was never really private.
No. The capture scene is brutal because it reveals the totality of the surveillance. The telescreen was hidden behind the picture in their room all along, and Mr. Charrington, the kindly old shopkeeper who sold him the diary and the paperweight and rented him the room,
Turns out to be an agent of the thought police.
a much younger, colder man, suddenly revealed the betrayal is complete.
And the paperweight.
It gets smashed. As the thought police burst in, one of them picks it up and shatters it on the hearthstone. Winston looks down at the tiny fragment of coral lying there and thinks how small it always was.
Oof. Symbolizing the fragility, the smallness of their rebellion.
Exactly. The destruction of their fantasy world, revealing how insignificant their defiance truly was against the monolithic power of the party.
Which leads, inevitably, to the Ministry of Love and Room 101, the final betrayal.
This is the end game, the psychological destruction. The goal in Room 101 isn't just pain, it's to force Winston to betray the one person he loves, Julia, to break that final loyalty within him.
By confronting him with his ultimate fear, the rats.
Yes, as the cage with the starving rats is being brought towards his face, poised to devour him, he snaps. He screams the only thing that can save him. Do it to Julia, not me, Julia.
He transfers the horror onto her, sacrifices her to save himself.
And in that moment, the party wins. They prove they can get inside you, they can sever the deepest human connection, destroy love itself, make you betray your own core.
Which makes the ending so utterly bleak. Winston sitting in the Chestnut Tree Cafe.
Yeah, the place where pardoned traitors often ended up. He's drinking victory gin, he's been cured, he's hollowed out.
He meets Julie again, briefly.
And they both confess almost casually that they betrayed each other. The feeling is gone. They don't love each other anymore. The party successfully extinguished it.
He realizes his whole rebellion was observed, like watching a beetle under a magnifying glass. Resistance was futile from the start.
And the final lines, looking up at the poster of Big Brother, a tear trickling down his nose. He had won the victory over himself. He loved Big Brother.
Chilling. Absolute surrender. The party didn't just want obedience, they wanted love. And they got it. They destroyed the man to save the party member.
It's one of the most devastating endings in literature, I think.
Okay, let's pivot to today, because the echoes are undeniable, but things are also different. Orwell's vision of surveillance was very state-centric, right? The telescreen, the government watching the citizen.
Yeah, it was a largely unidirectional, top-down, pre-internet, pre-big data.
But today, surveillance feels everywhere, and not just from the government.
Exactly. It's diffused, it's networked, you've got CCTV everywhere, sure, but then you have companies tracking your online behaviors, selling your data to advertisers. Your workplace might be monitoring your activity.
And the biggest shift maybe is how much we participate in it ourselves. Social media.
Participatory surveillance, yeah.
Yeah.
We voluntarily disclose vast amounts of personal information, photos, locations, opinions, relationships. Big Brother isn't just the state anymore, it's also the corporate infrastructure that profits from knowing everything about us.
It's moved beyond just watching and listening to, well, effective tracking, right?
Right.
Biometrics, analyzing emotions, predicting behavior.
It's often invisible, operating under the guise of convenience or personalization. Much more subtle than a giant telescreen on the wall.
So if the book spiked in interest around 2016 with post-truth, our sources suggest another surge might be coming, linked to AI.
That's the prediction. It raises that what about 2084 question,
Yeah.
because AI introduces a whole new dimension to information control.
How so? Let's dig into that. In 1984, the fight was against the party deliberately lying, destroying historical facts. Winston was trying to hold on to objective reality. What's the core challenge with things like large language models, generative AI?
I think the challenge shifts. It's less about facticity, whether something is true or false according to evidence, and more about authenticity.
Meaning?
Meaning if AI can generate text, images, videos, even voices that are indistinguishable from human-created ones, how do you know what's real? How do you tell the difference between a genuine human thought or expression and a sophisticated programmed imitation designed perhaps to persuade or manipulate you personally?
So the destruction of history is maybe replaced by the potential destruction of authenticity, knowing if something came from a human mind at all.
That seems to be the emerging battleground. It makes the problem of truth even more complex.
Which paradoxically maybe makes literature like 1984 even more important.
I think so. In an age of information overload and constant, often invisible monitoring, novels, what some call surveillance literature, give us a space to reflect. They provide frameworks, metaphors, warnings that help us think critically about where technology and power might be taking us.
They help us see the patterns, even if the tools change.
Right. Totalitarianism is adaptable. It uses the tools available. Whether it's a telescreen or an algorithm, the fundamental goal often remains the same. Psychological control, shaping thought, ensuring compliance.
Okay, so wrapping this up. This deep dive really hammered home how 1984 gives us this incredibly detailed blueprint for control, weaponizing language, erasing history, manipulating emotions, destroying relationships.
What Orwell shows so powerfully is that tyranny isn't just about brute force or technology. It's fundamentally about psychological domination, controlling the narrative, controlling the very definition of truth, and severing those human connections, love, trust, loyalty, that naturally resist absolute power.
When the party forces Winston to betray Julia, that internal conquest is complete. The external stuff, the war, the shortages, it's almost secondary to winning the battle inside the skull.
Exactly. That's the ultimate victory for them.
So the final thought for you listening to this. If Winston's fight was against a state actively destroying historical records, what's our fight today? Is it maybe against how readily we give up our data, how easily we accept algorithmic curation? And is the new danger with AI, the erosion of authenticity, that line between a human thought and a manufactured one? Think about the language around you now, the algorithms shaping what you see and hear. Is there a new kind of newspeak evolving, subtly limiting what we can express, or maybe even what we allow ourselves to think?